The Bohemian Grove is a private campground covering 2,700 acres, 1,100 ha, in Monte Rio, California. Founded in 1878, it is owned by a private gentlemen's club called the Bohemian Club. Each year in mid-July, the Bohemian Grove hosts an annual gathering lasting more than 2 weeks, attended by invited members and guests from politics, business, and the arts. The tradition of a summer encampment began in 1878, 6 years after the Bohemian Club was founded in 1872. That year, founding member and stage actor Henry Harry Edwards announced that he was moving to New York City to further his career. On June 29, 1878, fewer than 100 Bohemians gathered in the redwoods of Marin County near Taylorville, present-day Samuel P. Taylor State Park, for an evening send-off held in his honor. The gathering included food, drink, and lanterns, and participants stayed overnight at the site. The event was repeated the following year without Edwards and developed into the club's annual encampment. By 1882, club members camped together at several locations in Marin and Sonoma counties, including what is now Muir Woods and a redwood grove near Duncan's Mills, along the Russian River. From 1893, the Bohemians rented the current site, and in 1899 they purchased it from Melvin Cyrus Meeker, who operated a logging business in the area. Over the following decades, the club acquired surrounding land, expanding the property to encompass the basin in which it is located. Writer and journalist William Henry Irwin described the grove's natural setting in the early 20th century. You come upon it suddenly. One step, and its glory is over you. There is no perspective. You cannot get far enough away from one of the trees to see it as a whole. There they stand, a world of height above you, their pinnacles hidden by their topmost fringes of branches or lost in the sky. Not long after the club was founded by newspaper journalists, its membership expanded to include prominent San Francisco-based businessmen. These members provided the financial resources needed to acquire additional land and develop facilities at the Grove. Artists and musicians remained part of the club and continued to contribute to its cultural activities and entertainment. The Grove is known for hosting a meeting related to early planning of the Manhattan Project in September 1942. Participants included Ernest Lawrence and J. Robert Oppenheimer, along with members of the S1 Executive Committee and representatives from major universities, industry, and the U.S. military. Although Oppenheimer was not a member of the S1 committee at the time, he and Lawrence hosted the meeting. The discussions held there contributed to the broader development of the atomic bomb. In July of 1950, Dwight Eisenhower and Richard Nixon met each other for the first time as guests of former President Herbert Hoover at Caveman Camp, a section of Bohemian Grove, at a small group lunch party with the host Hoover giving a toast and Eisenhower giving a short speech, followed by time spent around a campfire. Nixon, for his part, was in the middle of his successful Senate campaign, having impressed Hoover with his political ability, especially for playing a big role in taking down Alger Hiss for committing perjury before the House Un-American Activities Committee, concerning charges of having committed espionage. Eisenhower, at that time, was the president of Columbia University, was the guest of honor. However, it was more his political future that interested the group of Hoover's associates and friends, who were mostly old guard conservatives, including Hoover, who were more inclined to support Ohio Senator Robert A. Taft in the upcoming 1952 United States presidential election, but were interested in hearing what the potential future president had to say. At the table during lunch, Nixon sat a few seats down on the left across from Eisenhower, who sat to the right next to Hoover, who sat at the head of the table. At some point during the gathering, Eisenhower and Nixon had a brief conversation. Former U.S. President Herbert Hoover was inducted into the club's Old Guard on March 4, 1953, having joined the Bohemian Club exactly 40 years earlier, the requirement for this status. Redwood branches from the Grove were flown to the Waldorf Astoria Hotel in New York City to decorate a banquet room for the occasion. In his acceptance speech, Hoover compared the honor of Old Guard status to his role as a senior advisor to later presidents. Owl's Nest Camp, summer 1967. Seated, left to right, Preston Hotchkiss, Ronald Reagan, Richard Nixon, Glenn T. Seaborg, Jack Sparks, Kevin Winter, and an unidentified individual. Standing, Harvey Hancock and Edwin W. Pauley. Behavior at the campground has led to numerous claims and even some parody in popular culture. One example was President Richard Nixon's comments from a May 13, 1971 tape recording talking about upper-class San Franciscans, the Bohemian Grove, which I attend from time to time. It is the most faggy, goddamned thing you could ever imagine with that San Francisco crowd.